Welcome back for another ABE update, and we're moving through the year quickly now. This is another update from March, and it is from the 6th of March. Okay, and I will get straight to it. You, over time as a species, have implemented many a ritual, many a process of connection or manifestation. But you see, in this, it is a space you create. You take time out to then place it aside. This is not wrong and has served well. But what we say here now is in the being, in the allowing. And this may prove very difficult, more so in the coming energy transference as energy clashes and divides. But it will indeed settle again. It is this back and forth. And you see, it must not be in resistance, for this will but only isolate yourselves, draw you away from your home into the external. What we say here now, with great reverence, is that ritual can be in the being, in the allowing. And this but be your whole life, not a place or space. But you see, in continuance of this is of utmost importance now, you see. It is in the allowance of. It is here already and will only be a point of transference when the scale has tipped the balance. This is the reference, the transference of the tipping point, you see. Now in that, I think Abe's trying to say that we should move from the externalization into the inner space, because over time it says we as a species have implemented many a ritual, many a process of manifestation, and those rituals have always been external rituals, whether they be personal, social or religious. We tend to make a thing of it. It could be a religious ritual, it could be a tea ritual, it could be anything, but it's an external process and we get drawn out to it. That's why Abe says we take time to then place it aside. So we take time to create a ritual, and then we place everything outside of us. But Abe says this is not wrong. It has served you well, but served you well before. But here now, the ritual should be in the being, in the allowing. And they recognize that this may prove very difficult, more so in the coming energy transference as energy clashes and divides. Interesting, they use that term energy transference. They're not saying that there's an energy kind of rushing in. As some people may say, there's an energy rushing into the planet. What they've said here is that there's an energy transference, like a crossover. But in the transference, there will be clashes and divides. So maybe what we're going through now in our energetic disruptions is this transference of energy. And as we're having the crossover, we're having all the disruption. But they say, but it will indeed settle again. It is this back and forth. So they're recognizing that this turbulence will settle down. It's part of the rhythm of the energy transference that we're going through. It will settle down. But right now, we must not be in resistance to it. If we are in resistance to it, Abe says, for this will but only isolate yourselves, draw you away from home into the external. So if we go to resist this energy disruption, what it will do is bring us out of our home, our entirety, and take us into the external. It will isolate us even more than we are now. So we should not resist it externally. They say, again with great reverence, ritual now should be in the being, maybe a non-visible ritual, a silent inner ritual, not a show, not a display, not a performance, but in an allowing of ourselves to move through us. And this will be our whole life, not a place or space. Interesting that. Just a short word. Abe says, this allowing of your being is not a place or a space, i.e. it's not a temporary thing. It'll be your whole life. So it's not just something we do here for a short time, but it's what we should always be. And he says, and this is of the continuance. This is of the movement. And that is of utmost importance, says Abe. And they say that this allowance is already here. This is point of transference is already here. And this will be when the scale has tipped the balance. So there will be a point when this transference of energy has tipped the balance and it goes over into where it's going, which I feel what Abe was saying, it's going towards settling more once the disturbance has gone over the tipping point. And they finish by saying this is the reference, i.e. this is the reference of this communication, the transference of the tipping point. So we have to remain in this allowance of our inner ritual, not to resist this transference of energy, the clashing, not to get drawn into the external back and forth of the energy divides, but to be in allowance so we can go with this tipping point of the transference of energy. And that's the nudge from the 6th of March of this year, 2022.